Let's be honest, The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride isn't just a romantic sequel about star-crossed lovers. Number, this movie gets dark, like scarred psyche of a generation dark.
Get them! Do what you must!
And I'm not just talking about the attempted murder of a child, or the emotionally manipulative parenting. I mean the guilt, the exile, the trauma cycles, everything. I went down the Reddit rabbit hole. I've combed through old Facebook group threads, Twitter rants, and Lion King stan accounts that go way too deep into the lore. And let me tell you, the darkness in Simba's Pride doesn't lie in jump scares or villains. It lies in the legacy of what happened after the first movie. So let's dig into everything twisted, tragic, and emotionally complex about The Lion King 2. Because beneath the pretty songs and savannah sunsets, there's something deeply broken at the heart of this royal family. Right off the bat, Simba is not okay.
Father, please reconsider.
He used you to get to me.
No!
And honestly, that's one of the darkest things this sequel reveals. This is a lion who survived exile, watched his father die in front of him, and was manipulated by Scar through guilt and fear. Now he's a father, but he's also haunted. And Kiara, she's not being raised in the warm, wise paws of Mufasa. She's being raised in a fortress. Simba's trauma is bleeding all over his kid, wrote at Wild Pride Rose on Twitter. He's not protecting Kiara, he's controlling her because he's still scared. And that's so real, he installs Timon and Pumbaa, literal clowns, as her babysitters. Why? Because he doesn't trust anyone else. He doesn't let her hunt. He doesn't let her roam. It's not that he doesn't love her, it's that he's parenting through fear. And fear, as we know from Zira, is a dangerous thing to lead with. Now let's talk about Zira. This lioness is Scar's most devoted follower, but more than that, she's a product of Scar's entire broken ideology. She's teaching kids to chant his name in military drills like, "What even is? He lives in you." When your daily routine is literally, "Scar is our king, Scar is the king." Creepy. One Reddit post on r/Lion King lore put it perfectly. Zira is raising cubs not as sons, but as weapons. And that's what's so chilling. Kovu, her own son, is groomed not to be a king but to be a killer. The plan isn't just about reclaiming power, it's about vengeance, about finishing what Scar started, and she's willing to sacrifice her own child's soul to do it. What hit me hardest, rewatching as an adult, is how much Zira manipulates Kovu with the idea of destiny.
I will avenge Scar. Take his place.
You are part of the pride of Scar. That's all he ever hears. Not "you're loved," not "you have a choice," just "this is who you are." Honestly, it's giving trauma cult vibes. The moment Simba banishes Kovu is one of the coldest scenes in the whole franchise.
Please, I ask your forgiveness. And I pass it now. Exile!
No!
Yes, Kovu lied about why he came to the Pride Lands, but by then, he's already changed. He's already questioning Zira. And Simba knows that. You can see it in his eyes, but instead of listening, Simba acts from pure survival mode. He doesn't even hesitate, said at Lion Legacy 93 in a Facebook group. The second he feels betrayed, he repeats the exact behavior that destroyed his own childhood. And that's the heartbreak. Simba is repeating the trauma he inherited. Just like Mufasa exiled Scar, just like Scar exiled Simba. The cycle continues, and at that moment, he almost becomes the thing he fears most. And poor Kiara girl just wants to be herself. She's the only one in the entire cast who sees clearly. She sees that Kovu isn't Scar. She sees that peace isn't about power. And when she runs away to find Kovu again, it's not just teenage rebellion. It's a rejection of every cycle her father and Zira are trapped in. That fog scene, it hit me like a truck, because it's not just literal fog, it's symbolic. The fog of grief, of war, of generational fear and misunderstanding. And Kiara walks through it to find the truth. She's not the future Scar wanted. She's not the future Simba tried to protect too hard. She's something new. But just when you think the darkness is lifting, Zira reminds us how deep her obsession runs. When Zira declares war, it's not just a fight over territory, it's a full-on generational reckoning. The cubs raised on Simba's side and those raised under Zira aren't that different. That's what makes it so messed up. These aren't Scar's old guards, these are kids. Kids who grew up hearing different stories about the same history. And that's something Reddit won't let us forget. I rewatched this with my son. Someone posted on Our Lion King, and it hit me that the Outlanders aren't evil. They're abandoned. Scar may have ruled with fear, but Simba left them behind. No wonder they followed Zira. I mean, yikes. This war was avoidable, but fear, pride, and grief poisoned both sides. It always does. This moment still haunts me. Zira is clinging to a rock ledge, snarling, soaked, absolutely unhinged. But Kiara, this literal teenager, is begging her to take her paw, to live, to stop the cycle. And Zira lets go. She chooses to fall, and I'm sorry, but that is one of the darkest choices in all of Lion King history. She chooses hate over healing. She would rather die than see her enemy's cub extend mercy and take it. Facebook comments were wild about this. One post said, "Zira's death isn't a punishment, it's a statement. Her pride was more important than her life. That's what she taught her kids, and that's what makes it so devastating." Zira never had a redemption arc. She was too far gone, too consumed by her own sense of righteousness and revenge, and when she died, she passed nothing on but scars. But here's where things get complicated. When the other lionesses turn away from Zira, when they choose Kiara's way instead of war, it's not some magical moment of forgiveness. It's exhaustion, it's pain, it's survival. A Twitter post summed it up perfectly. They didn't switch sides because of love. They switched sides because they were done suffering. That hit me hard, because there's no ceremony, no apology, just a quiet merging of broken families. You can see the hesitation in their eyes. These lions aren't celebrating peace. They're mourning everything it took to get there. And honestly, that nuance makes the ending even heavier. Let's talk about Simba again. When he walks beside Kiara at the end, there's this weight in his posture. Like he's finally seeing her. Not just as his daughter, but as someone who saved the legacy he almost destroyed. Reddit threads have pointed this out. Simba doesn't say much at the end, but his silence speaks volumes. He finally lets go of Mufasa's shadow. That right there, that's growth. But the damage done still lingers. The Pride Lands are united, yes, but there's no undoing years of exile, fear, or war. It's a bittersweet peace, like a wound that finally scabs over but still aches when you press it. Now let's talk about them. Kovu and Kiara's love story is beautiful, yes, but it's also born from the rubble of two collapsed ideologies. Kiara rejects legacy. Kovu escapes indoctrination, and together they try to build something new. But even in their triumph, there's weight. They're inheriting lands stained with blood, names heavy with history. I always felt like Kiara and Kovu would have the hardest reign, a commenter said on an old Lion King Facebook group. They've got no elders left, just ghosts. And I felt that, because their future, it's unwritten, but it's also fragile. Their peace won't last forever unless they actively break every pattern their parents lived by. The rain has stopped, the war is over, but the scars remain. So now that the dust has settled and Zira's gone, where does that leave us? The Lion King 2 ends with a visual of unity. Two prides joined together, Kovu and Kiara looking hopeful, the future seemingly secure. But let's be real, peace doesn't erase the past, it just buries it. And the darker truth of this movie is that healing doesn't happen overnight. Reddit user at Circle of Scars wrote, "You can feel the weight of everything that was never said in that last scene. The forgiveness that was never earned, the grief that was never voiced," and I couldn't agree more. Kovu lost his mother, Kiara nearly lost her father, the Outlanders lost their leader, and the Pride Landers? They're being asked to suddenly accept the very lions they were raised to fear. That tension doesn't go away when the credits roll. Let's talk about legacy. Mufasa looms large over this movie, even more than in the original. He's a literal voice from the sky, constantly guiding Simba. But there's something kind of chilling about how much control he still holds from beyond the grave. Simba doesn't just remember his father, he worships him. And it becomes this dangerous obsession with doing everything right. He's terrified of making the same mistake twice. And that fear turns into rigidity. Meanwhile, Scar's legacy is festering in the Outlands, not because of his words, but because of his absence. He's become a myth, a symbol of power to those who were left behind. Scar is like a ghost of colonialism in this movie. Someone posted in a Facebook thread. He's gone, but the structure he left behind still hurts everyone. Whew, that hit like a roar to the chest. And Kovu? Man, Kovu is such a tragic character, and no one talks about that enough. He was never Scar's son, but he was trained to become Scar's legacy. Think about that for a second. He spends the entire movie trying to find himself, and all anyone else sees is who they think he might become. Zira wants him to be Scar. Simba thinks he is Scar. And Kovu, he just wants to be Kovu. It's a devastating journey. There's this underrated Twitter thread where Simba's Trauma King said, "Kovu is the first Lion King character we see build his own identity from scratch. He has no destiny, no prophecy, just pain, love, and choice." That's powerful. And that's why his arc matters so much, because it tells us that legacy doesn't have to be inherited. It can be rewritten. Okay, but y'all know we can't talk about The Lion King 2 without digging into the fan theories. One of the most popular ones? That Zira wasn't lying when she said Scar chose Kovu to be king. That he saw something in Kovu early on, something he could never be. Some even say Kovu is Scar's biological son, but Disney didn't want to make it official because, well, incest. But honestly, I don't buy it. What I do believe is that Zira believed in Scar more than she believed in herself, and that's what makes her dangerous. Her entire identity was built around his memory. She was never free, and she passed that burden onto her cubs. Even Nuka, especially Nuka. Reddit has some truly heart-wrenching posts about him, about how all he wanted was to be loved, but he died trying to prove his worth to a mother who never truly saw him. His final words, "I'm sorry, mother," still mess me up. And in the end, it's Kiara, this underestimated cub with a rebellious heart who sees the truth none of the adults could. "We are one," she says. And sure, maybe it's idealistic, maybe it's naive. But it's new. It's something this franchise desperately needed, a break in the cycle. Because this movie, it's not about war, it's about what war leaves behind. Simba's pride is about generational wounds, inherited trauma, the children of violence trying to build something softer. It's about lions trying to forgive, not because they're told to, but because they have to, or else they'll become the very monsters they were raised to fight. Years later, some fans say The Lion King 2 is the weakest of the trilogy. Too much romance, too derivative, too tame. But honestly, I think it's the most human. Because what's darker than the idea that your parents' past might define your future? And what's more powerful than realizing it doesn't have to? Simba's pride doesn't just end a story, it starts a new one. One where legacy isn't fate and where forgiveness isn't weakness, but revolution. And that is what makes this sequel unforgettable.